All right, for this it says to solve the inequalities, but I don't see those parts, so I'm not sure what inequalities that it does want, but normally it will say something like f of x is greater than 0, or f of x is greater than or equal to 0, or the other way, f of x is less than 0, f of x is less than or equal to 0. So the easiest way to do that is to look at our graph here. I'm going to highlight. So for f of x is greater than 0, that's talking about when our y values are greater than 0. That's happening anywhere up above the x-axis. So when I look at this picture, the only time that's happening is right here, this section. And so to answer the question in interval notation, we have to say it in terms of our x values. So in terms of our x values, that starts to look at it from left to right. So if I look at the x-axis, it's going from -3 to -2. Any value, x values in there, gives me an output that's up above. So when my x's are between -3 and -2, and I don't want to include either of those endpoints, because at -3 we're undefined, so we'd never include that anyway. And at -2 we actually equal 0. That's one of our x-intercepts. So we wouldn't want to include that because it only says greater than 0. So when I look at the next one, when it says f of x is greater than or equal to 0, it's the same interval here, except we want to include -2, so we show that by putting a bracket. Again, I'll never include that -3 because that's a vertical asymptote. For the next part, let's try and erase this. It wants us to know when we're less than 0. So when are our y values less than 0? That's everything that's down below the x-axis. And so I have in this picture, this whole section here is down below the x-axis, and this section here is also down below the x-axis. And so for our interval, again, we're looking at it from left to right. So we're going everything from -infinity all the way up to -3, but we don't include that -3 because that's an asymptote. And then it starts again at that -2 to infinity. Again, I don't want to include any endpoints here because I'm strictly less than 0. When I go and look at less than or equal to 0, I still don't want to include the -3 because -3 is that vertical asymptote, but I do want to include the -2. So it'll be -infinity to -3 again, not included. And then that -2 will be included now because we are equal to 0 when that happens. So hope that was helpful. Makes a little bit more sense.